Good morning, Pride League. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time since I left you without a dope video to step to. You know what I mean? So I'm back. I think we pretty much finished up the bylaws in itself. Well, last thing I gotta really talk about is maybe the timeline that each year goes through and some scoring issues. So without further ado, I am Disabled Vigilantes, your fearless commissioner, also known as Trapper slash Rapper slash Bad Bitch Snatcher. You know, it's who I am. But let's finish this up so that we can really talk about the more important things like filling up the league and you know I've set up the league safe. I don't think anybody's paid. I haven't really checked it. It's early. I know as fantasy football gets closer toward the Super Bowl, I don't know, it tapers off. So you get a massive wave of people that want to participate in fantasy football as soon as it's over, you know, start of the playoffs. And then you get this lull. Like, there's going to be a lull for quite some time. So hopefully we can get some people, but it's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and talk about the timeline. Now, our league generally will begin on March 1st. I mean, this year, a little bit different because we'll still be acquiring owners and, you know, setting up payment. This is the first year. It's probably bound to be a little rough, but as soon as we're established, we got our 14 owners. Hopefully that they don't leave, or, you know, we can keep the group solid for a long time. This timeline will basically be the bones, you know, pending a few amendments here, depending on the competition committee's recommendations to change things. This is a lot of money. This league's a lot of money. And, you know, just searching RotoWire, it might might be out of the price range a bit. You know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We have some time. I've got some reserves, but truth be told, I want to try to acquire more guys like, I don't know, the guys that we just picked up. You know, some guys more like the Doug Beesons and things of that nature, just to shoot out a little shout out to Doug. Regardless, I like our core group. I like the energy. It's a nice mix in age. We got some young boys and you know, Deontay and Ashi. We've got some veterans like myself and Classy Strippers and Aaron Hill, and we got these new guys that, you know, bring their own experience. I like this mix, and I hope that this becomes not only a means for me to make money, but a means for everyone to have this enjoyment. Even if I lose, I still like to say that I spent my money wisely, and that's what I want this league to be. I'm just now coming out of my playoff loss hangover to the Colts. I think I might be coming back to normal. There's a really strong well of depression that wells up after a playoff loss. I don't know if your team's take, I'm sorry, you probably don't understand, but I think I'm now over that and I'm ready to begin a new season. Let's move on. Fantasy football will help me in this journey. Now, March 1st, the new Pride Dynasty fantasy season year begins. Easy, that's A. B, player contracts are reduced by 1 year. 0-year contracts are dropped with those players becoming unrestricted free agents. So you got a guy on his last year, March 1st rolls around, guess what? He now has a goose egg where his contract number is. He went to the free agency. That's where you can find him. Salaries increased by 20% along with any other required salary adjustments. So this also includes your cap penalties. So if you cut players that had multiple year contracts and, you know, maybe massive, you may incur a cap penalty. And this is when all your other players' salaries will rise by 20% due to inflation. Deadline for teams to pay the upcoming year's due. This is also March 1st. Failure to pay by this date will result in the forfeiture of the owner's franchise, especially if he isn't contacting me or classy strippers with some, you know, some extenuating circumstances. That's probably the best way to put that. Owners must declare all franchise and transition tag players. So March 1st, if you got a guy that you plan on franchise tagging, transition tagging, that you need to do it by March 1st. And that'll allow you to keep players. From March 1st to March 21st, like the first 3 weeks of the league year, there'll be an open blind bidding on franchise tag players. So if you got a first round pick that you're willing to donate to the team that doesn't know whether or not they want to sign that player, you can participate in the franchise tag bidding. On March 28th, owners must declare their intentions to match or accept franchise tag compensation. So if an owner doesn't acknowledge that another team is willing to compensate them with a first round pick to grab that player, that will go through. 4, late April to early May. Like I said, this is more, dates will become a little more concrete as we get there. You'll have the NFL draft between late April and early May. May 12th, subject to change obviously due to, when they decide to hold the draft. The rookie draft will occur. That does not happen in our inaugural season because all the rookies will be placed in a pool with all the NFL players and have all the same rules as the NFL players. The following year is when we'll have that annual rookie draft, only rookies, and it'll be kind of snake-like, because all the salaries are concrete. You just need to be able to pick within the standings of where you work. I mean, you got 3 rounds of picks, essentially. Moving on. The week after, June 15th to August 1st, the unrestricted free agent pool opens for bidding via the league auction. That league auction will be held on MFL, and the week after the free agent auction concludes, free agent blind bidding waivers will commence. That'll be like your 3 free agent wire pickup things. So after we do the massive free agent auction, it's basically like free agency in real time. You can bid on players, give them contracts and whatnot. After that, blind bidding waivers occur, and you can only sign players to that 1-year deal. And however much you bid on him for 1 year. On August 15th, contract extensions are closed for players on the final year of their contract. If you go past August 15th and you got a guy with 1 year on his contract, you have now opted to wait until the offseason to figure out what to do with that guy. Or you have agreed to let him hit free agency. But by August 15th, you need to have extended all players on 1-year contracts, or be prepared to franchise, transition tag, or what have you. But you will not be able to sign him for a new contract. On September 2nd, inaugural season only, the unrestricted free agent pool opens for bidding via the league auction. So we're gonna have our massive draft that's gonna be held on ESPN. And that's the 31st. So we're going to give it a couple days. And on September 2nd, I'd like to think that I probably should match this up with the NFL schedule, but I'm pretty sure we're good. On September 2nd, that's when you'll be able to bid on free agents and sign them to 1-year deals for those that, did not draft well, because that's probably going to happen. 10, start of the week 5 games. That's when player contract extension deadline. So for anybody not on a 1-year deal, you have until week 5 to either decide whether you want to give them an extension. If after week 5, there will be no more extensions regardless. Start of the week 11 games is the trade deadline. So you want to make all transactions regarding trade by week 11. Start of week 14 games, that'll be our playoffs. Yes. I hope to see some of you there, but let's be honest. Some of you will be watching the great team of disabled vigilantes from your armchair and not be participating, but that's okay. That's what this league is for you to grow. And maybe one day you will have the greatness of disabled vigilantes. That's major. Week 16, start of those games is our championship game. Week 17, we have free agent waivers end. Current Pride League year ends, and the off season begins. Trade can recommence. Holdout players will be announced. This week 17 is it's the only thing we have as fantasy football players, especially if your team, Deontay, didn't make the playoffs. So there's a lot going on. Number 15, the fantasy league offseason start of week 17 games to March 1st. The fantasy league preseason is March 1st to the start of week 1 games. And the fantasy season, of course, is from week 1 games to the start of week 17 games. So we have 3 segments of the year that will be dedicated to fantasy football. You have your off season, you have your preseason, and you have your regular season. And those are basically the dates that all those require. So if I tell you something can only be done in the off season, or if I tell you something you can't do this in the regular season, or if you gotta wait until preseason to do these things, those are the times that will determine that. And that's pretty much the schedule as of right now. There's another schedule on the MFL site that it goes really deep with the blind bidding waivers. And this is my first time using MFL, so there's probably going to be some patches and some rough spots for me as I get acclimated to the MFL site. I've been on ESPN, I don't know, for a decade probably. So moving to MFL will be a bit much for me, and I'm also willing to pay for MFL without taking it out of your pocket, because this is something that I wanted to do, not something that you wanted to do necessarily. But since I chose MFL, I will pay for MFL, and we will make the best of an interesting situation. So that's one fee you don't have to pay. I'm willing to cough that up. Now, Article 19. That's basically this general section, right? Where I talk about conduct. First and foremost, have fun. B, with A in mind, be respectful. Use your judgment in determining when you might be approaching the line between good fun and unregulated ridicule. Me personally, this line is a little blurred. We're all adults here. If your feelings get hurt, don't be afraid to say something so that it doesn't get repeated. I spent a decade on a submarine as well, so this line can be basically ignored. But the only way to fix the problem is to say something. Even if you send me a private message, I can try to diffuse the situation. If I am the problem, please, William Eckert has a great knack for letting me know in the best way possible that I've crossed the line. So I'm not gonna say I'm not immune to the ridicule, because I love, that's the best part of winning. It's the ridicule. But if I ever cross a line, or if one of the other league members crosses the line, all you gotta do is say something, and we'll dial it back and still be inclusive. This is supposed to be fun for everyone, especially at the price this is. I kind of need it to be fun for everyone, and if it's not for you, I totally understand it too. No hard feelings will be had, but when I win, I will gloat a bit and try to rub it a little deeper in the wound. Um, let's see. Complaints of absolutely ridiculous behavior or repeated transgressions could lead to a vote of that owner's removal from Pride. So be mindful of that. D, an owner may be removed from the league via league vote. 8 votes right now are required to remove an owner. Obviously, there'll probably be 2 owners that are in dispute. I need basically 6 other owners, or 7 other owners, considering who's getting voted out, to also be in agreement. That's a lot of people that would want that owner to be removed. Hopefully we never have to use that, but reasons for removal include, but may not be limited to, collusion. Now, collusion's a very soft word. Like I said, no, I don't want an unfair competitive advantage for anyone, but I don't think collusion is, let's look at it from an NFL standpoint, right? The Bills and the Eagles often trade with each other. That's not collusion. That's trying to make their teams better so both can prosper. That's not collusion. Collusion, to me, would be something like, let's see, Team A drops a player knowing that Team B is the only player that can acquire said player. You're trying to bypass the natural channels of acquiring players and being dubious, right? Now, sometimes, that's a very loose, it takes a lot for collusion, right? Like, I don't know. Or if a guy joins the league and only plays a season, but he's able to, just ship players out or whatever. Collusion's weird, and it's something that when you see it, but like I said, 2 teams trying to improve, that's not collusion. Not starting full lineups, that's awful. Intentional tanking, that's pretty big. I don't think anybody should want to tank. Even if it got you a higher draft pick, I wouldn't recommend it, especially if somebody or a group of people agree that you're not giving it your all. The best thing is to start your best lineup and pray for the worst if you're trying to, I don't know. Malicious behavior, everybody should feel safe. Malicious behavior, it's like trying to do something hurtful, and this is fantasy, not real life. Don't try to maim anybody in real life. And then we got Article 20 is basically our amendments. A competition committee will be established as soon as we get 14 players. I'm thinking 3 guys in addition to myself being on the competition committee, and I'll just be like an overseer. There'll be 3 guys responsible for receiving competition. Man, my brain, it's early, I'm sorry. Like, suggestions. That's what I'm looking for. And those 3 guys will be our competition committee. Instead of bombarding me with, in my message box of what you think should be changed, you'll address it to the competition committee. They will confer with me, obviously, but then we'll discuss whether or not it deserves to be put up to a vote. Those 3 individuals, I know a lot of people don't know a lot of people. I will probably shoot a recommendation, because I kind of know the new guys. I definitely know the old Pride Snake Draft League, and I got some ideas of who should be on the competition committee, who's sane, and who will have the league's best interest in mind, vice their own. That's where I'm at. So that's Article 20. This will be with as much money as it costs. I want the league to be fun, not just for a couple players, but these amendments would improve the league as a whole. Now, as we coast through the bylaws. And like I said, these are rough bylaws. Once we get in the flow, I can see what MFL's doing in real time as a commissioner. I think adjustments will be made. But essentially, this is a PPR league. Passing touchdowns aren't 4, they're 6. I just think if you score a touchdown, you've earned 6 points. I'm sorry. But we have here in Pride where we like to reward big plays, special plays, game-changing plays. I like to incorporate momentum in these big plays, and that's how your fantasy team should be. If Tyreek Hill catches a 80-yard pass, 6 points just doesn't do it, fellas. It just doesn't do it. So if he catches a 80-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes gets 6 points, Tyreek Hill gets 6 points, and just for the sheer explosiveness of the play, we're gonna add an extra 3 points for any touchdown over 50 yards, and we're gonna add 3 points to Tyreek Hill for any reception touchdown over 50 yards. That's the main big thing of the scoring. It's pretty tame, but I reward splash plays. So if you catch a 40-yard touchdown, you're going to get an extra 2 points between 40 and 50. And if you catch a 50-plus yard touchdown, you're going to get an extra 3 points. That's how I want it. And if you've had a big game, if you've thrown for over 300 yards, we're going to give you an extra point. If you've thrown over 400 yards, you're going to get an extra point on top of that. If you've thrown for 500 yards, you're going to get an extra point. So these will add up, especially if you've got a monster like Patrick Mahomes. He may be worth an earlier, paying extra for, because the dividends will be shown in the scoreboard. Interceptions, you get -2. You get sacked, you get -1. I still think the onus is on the quarterback for interceptions and sacks. He can choose to throw it away or not throw it or take the sack, however you see it. Onus has to be on the quarterback. Everything else is pretty simple, right? Like the yardage, we're gonna do 0.1 points for every rushing yard and receiving yard. Quarterbacks do 0.04 for each yard. It's there. I mean, I encourage everybody to review the scoring. There is a lot of lines there, and we're approaching faster than I wanted to. If anybody has any questions about any of the scoring, feel free to hit me up. And again, the competition committee will, be fielding suggestions if I want to say Aaron Hill came up, like the blocked field goals do blocked field goals and missed field goals count the same? With MFL, I don't know. I really don't know situations like that. So I did curtail the blocked field goals because I was thinking that they wouldn't be counted. But just in case they are, I curtailed it. And as we play seasons, we'll be able to fine-tune the scoring as we see fit, so that the league is fun for everybody. Well, again, we talked about the timeline and a little bit about the scoring, also general conduct and things of that nature. I think this is a productive meeting. Now, with all that being said, let's focus on getting 2 more owners. If you know 2 guys that will be willing to cough up $450 by the time we draft, so be it. And like I said, League Safe is up for those that have already in. If you want to go ahead and drop some money in, and get that out of the way, feel free. I actually am about to do it as soon as we get off this video. Just dropping 200 here, 200 there, I'll be done. And I'll be enjoying a fantasy league that is hopefully the best fantasy league you'll be a part of. That's my goal. But, lofty goals. Hopefully we fall somewhere in the stars. But that's it for me. I'll be back, especially once we fill up. You'll see more videos, and as I try to keep everybody engaged, hopefully. But thank you all for signing up, and I look forward to playing great fantasy football with you boys. Peace.